What's up, marketers? I feel like most people really overcomplicate Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So today I'm gonna tell you the only 3 ad creatives you really should be running this Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I'm also gonna answer some of your most common questions that I get about this time of the year, like, should I do an auto discount or a promo code? What types of offers run best? And a big piece of advice that I have for all brands who are going to be participating in Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So let's go ahead and dive in. And the first type of ad creative, which I'd actually venture to say is probably the most important, is a really simple image graphic that very clearly communicates your brand, what you're all about, and also the discount code. Now, this is not something that I'd normally recommend during any other time of the year except Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but I always see images do really, really well this time of the year, and here's why I think that is. Number one, this is the only time of year that people are actually on Facebook and Instagram looking for stuff to buy. So you need to make your offer and your best-selling products really front and center. I also find that CPMs tend to be a little bit lower on image creatives. That's why I always like to keep those into the mix. And I'd say almost more than 50% of the time, it's these really simple image graphics that tend to really be the best performers year after year after year. So if I were a brand, I would make sure to have something that's a little bit more studio photography driven, because those tend to perform really well. But if you tend to find that UGC images work pretty well for you, then go ahead and slap an offer on something that's already been performing well. But more on that in a little bit. Now, the second type of ad that I recommend brands running during this time is a UGC ad, but the very important wrinkle here is that it has to be a gifting angle. And this is something, again, that I really don't try to overcomplicate as much, because during all of the other times of the year, that's when you're doing all of this robust creative testing. You're testing all these, oh my God, no. Now, this is the one time of year that I'm not really recommending you to test out too many different types of creatives. So when it comes to UGC, ideally throughout the year, you've already been testing different types of UGC hooks, different types of creators, and you should have an idea of what type of creators and what type of content does best for your UGC. So something that I'm recommending several brands to do is actually reach back out to those top performing creators and see if they could do a gifting angle for their brand. And I'd say too, depending on your brand, you could do a compilation type video so that you can have content from several different types of creators, or it can be from one creator. It really depends on what works best for your brand, but I would suggest, if you haven't tried a UGC compilation with a gifting angle, this is something that I would highly recommend trying. Depending on the product, I often find that the ungifting or boxing type of content tends to do pretty well. So that's just a little suggestion from me. Now, the third type of ad is so simple that I almost feel a little embarrassed saying it to brands when I do, but here it is. It's to simply take your top performing ad creative over the last year or 6 months and simply putting a headline or a dot whack, that's like a little sticker that shows your offer front and center. So there's really no additional creating of new creative that needs to happen here. Simply take what's already worked and put a headline, put a dot whack on it, and just run that. I also tend to find that in addition to the image style graphics that tend to work really well, this is also the thing that tends to be the second in terms of the top performance in ad creatives. I think that any brand that was running at least these 3 creatives for Black Friday, Cyber Monday would be in a really solid position. Now, another type of ad creative, if you have a ton of products and you're not really sure which product to focus on in your ad creative, that I would suggest running is be sure to run some dynamic product ads, so DABA, so dynamic ads, broad audience, that kind of thing. But be sure to have specific copy or primary text that talks about your offer. Now, you can also run that as a single ad inside a general conversion campaign. So that's another type of ad creative that I would definitely run. This is something that I would also launch a new campaign for, specifically for retargeting. Again, this time of year is mostly going to be all about retargeting. It's not really about finding net new audiences. So depending on what type of products your users are interested in, I would be sure to have that DPA style retargeting, and also go ahead and try it as a dynamic ads broad audience test, because I have seen that surprise me a little bit in the past. So it's worth a try. Now, here are some of the most common questions that I get about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Number one, when should you launch your ads? So this is something that I feel like I've actually changed my mind about this year, because over the last few years, particularly during the height of the pandemic, I felt like Black Friday, Cyber Monday was happening earlier and earlier every single year. Now, I find that for a majority of thesis clients this year, they're going to be launching the week of Thanksgiving. We have some clients that are going to be launching on Thanksgiving or Black Friday itself, and then changing up the offer a little bit for Cyber Monday. But I'd say that for a majority of our brands, they're just doing a broad Black Friday, Cyber Monday type of offer, and they're not changing up that ad creative, which I think is the right call. You actually want to get as many learnings as possible from this time of year, and I find that by switching out the ad creative right after Black Friday and then changing it up for Cyber Monday just tends to not actually have any benefits. Another question that I always get is, should you change your ad copy? And yeah, and frankly, just keep this really simple. I would simply just put the offer front and center. Don't try and write something that is long-winded and complicated. You don't want people to have to work to find your offer during this time of the year. So make sure that it's not only on the ad creative if you're doing a promo code, but is also in your primary text. And try to keep it pretty short. Remember that only 2 lines of text shows up on Instagram anyways. Keep it short and sweet, go right to the goods, AKA that discount. This is a good question that I always get every year. Should you do an auto discount or should you do a promo code? Now, I hear a lot of brands always say, oh, you should do the promo code because someone's gonna forget, and then that's just a little bit of margin that you're making up from the sale. I've never seen that, but I also understand that some websites don't really have the capability of doing an auto discount. I don't really think it matters. I think that this is something that's more of a brand decision versus an agency decision. We have brands this year that are doing both. I think that if I was running a brand, I would just go ahead and have it be auto discount. As a user, I really like that UX of not having to worry about what the promo code was that I saw on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, and just being able to go right into my cart and automatically see those savings. I think that's really cool, and that's generally what I would recommend. But again, I don't really think that there's a performance reason to do one way or the other. But if you don't agree with me, let me know in the comments. Yes, what type of offer works best? I had a Instagram live with Savannah recently where we talked about what types of offers are gonna be best this year. And honestly, it just has to be your best offer of the year. So for some people, that's only going to be 25% off. Some people, that's going to be 35 or 40% off. I do find that brands that go for those bigger discounts, AKA 30, 35, 40, they tend to really have blowout sales, and that's really what people are looking for. But I feel like this year is a little bit more reserved, and I find that a lot more of my brands are sticking around the 25 to 30% off arena and not really doing the huge blowout bashes that we've had in years past. Now, I do remember seeing a brand last year that I actually really liked that did 50% off, and that felt like too much to me, I guess. I don't know. In retrospect, I wasn't really sure what they were doing because I thought that maybe they were closing down or they were doing a rebrand, and that didn't really happen. So you just really have to not shoot yourself in the foot during the early November weeks when sales start to slow down, because sales are gonna start to slow down now, because right now people are waiting for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I oftentimes see brands panic, do a really big discount, and then they do that same discount a week or 2 later during actual Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and that's never as good as they really intended it to be. So just also know that this weird time before Black Friday, your sales are going to be slower. But I will say there is something actually now that you can do about it. So I've seen a few brands recently, like Away, start to test their gift guide style creative. And I think that this is actually pretty smart, because they're a brand that's known for not doing a big discount, kind of like Allbirds, or any discount at all really, I suppose, in that case. But what they're doing is they're starting to actually run gifting style creative to see what type is actually going to perform best. And what I think they're going to do here is they're actually going to double down on the content and creative that performs best during this sort of messaging and imagery testing period. And then they're going to start putting the offers on those creatives so that they can spend a lot more when they actually have an offer. It's going to be hilarious if they don't have an offer this year, because then I'm totally wrong. But I do see some brands right now starting to test more of the gift guide style creative. And I think it's really smart so that you can get a sense now of what's going to work a lot more later down the line. I also think that there are a number of consumers too who don't really like to indulge in Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but they do know, hey, I have to start buying presents for my family, for my friends, whatever. So this gift style creative really does help move the needle, and this is probably the right time to start testing that out. And that's it. I want to know how you guys are feeling about Q4 this year. I'm not nervous, but I'm not excited. I don't know. Maybe it's just like my 7th or 8th Black Friday, Cyber Monday at this point, so it's just kind of like, you know, madness. I don't feel like it's as crazy as it's been recently, but I also don't feel like really excited. I feel like some brands are really starting to struggle because of economy concerns, and that's always like tough to be in, especially for an agency. But anyways, let me know. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.